There's a calm silence that often surrounds the ones heaven has chosen. You've felt it, that quiet weight in the air when you realize you're walking a road few can see, carrying battles no one seems to understand. The world looks at you and assumes you're fine, but only you and God know the nights you've cried without sound, the prayers whispered in the dark when your heart was heavy and your strength nearly gone. This message is for that soul, the one who has wondered if God forgot their name, the one who has kept moving even when the road was lonely. Hear this clearly: you are not alone. You were never walking through the fire by yourself. The same God who called you out, who placed his hand upon your life, has never once taken his eyes off you. Even now he walks beside you. He has seen every tear you've cried in secret, and not one of them has been wasted. Every sigh, every unanswered question, every silent ache has been recorded in heaven. And though the path has felt uncertain, though people have walked away, and though storms have risen against you, the presence of God has never left your side. There is a reason your spirit feels weary, yet still burns with hope. It's because something holy is being shaped within you, strength that can only be formed in solitude, faith that can only be proven in silence. The world calls it isolation, but heaven calls it preparation. This is not the end of your story. This is the moment before divine alignment, the sacred stillness before breakthrough. You have not been abandoned. You are being escorted through transition by the very presence of the Almighty. Listen closely. This word is not coming by coincidence. It is heaven's reminder that while others see emptiness, God sees completion forming. Where others see loss, he sees foundation. And where you feel most alone, he is closest. Stay here a moment longer. Let these words settle deep. You are seen. You are loved. You are never alone. Because tonight, the God who walks beside you has a message for your spirit, and by the time this word is complete, you will no longer doubt his nearness again. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet assurance rising inside you, like the air itself is whispering that God has been here all along. The world may have turned its back, but heaven leaned in closer. The silence you thought was absence was actually the sound of divine presence, settling around you, unseen, but undeniable. He's been walking with you through every valley, not shouting directions from above, but matching your steps, waiting patiently as you learn to trust his pace. Every delay, every detour, every unanswered prayer wasn't a punishment, it was a lesson in proximity. God wasn't far away. He was teaching you to recognize him in stillness. Sometimes when life quiets down and the noise fades, it's easy to mistake the hush for loneliness. But the hush is holy. It's where revelation begins to unfold. It's where his voice becomes distinguishable from the echo of fear. That's where he's been speaking in the moments when no one called, when no door opened, when it seemed like heaven itself went silent. That's where his hand was writing something sacred across your timeline. You see, the divine doesn't always arrive in thunder or visible fire. Often it moves like breath, gentle, steady, faithful. God has been orchestrating unseen alignments in your favor, shifting people, opportunities, and timing into place. While you were worrying about the when, he was securing the how. There's a verse written on your journey that only he could author, a covenant of companionship, sealed in tears and endurance. You've wondered if your prayers even made it past the ceiling. But God says, I was closer than your breath. Every word you whispered reached me before it left your lips. There's something deeply divine about walking with God. Not just believing in him, but realizing he believes in you enough to walk beside you through uncertainty. He doesn't just call you, he commits to you. He doesn't just promise presence, he embodies it. And this is the revelation you're being led into. God's companionship is not conditional on your clarity, even when you don't know where you're going. He remains. So breathe. The one who created the path walks it with you. The same presence that hovered over the waters in Genesis now hovers over your life, ensuring that what He began in you will not be left unfinished. You were never wandering, you were being guided. And now heaven is ready to unveil why this season of walking in faith, of trusting in the unseen, has been so vital. Something sacred is approaching. A revelation meant to confirm not only that God is beside you, but that He's preparing to lead you into a moment that will redefine everything. There's a shift happening in the unseen right now. You might not feel it fully, but your spirit knows. The air around you has changed, a quiet movement that doesn't announce itself with noise. Yet every fiber of your being senses something sacred drawing near. It's the moment heaven starts revealing what's been hidden in plain sight. This is the season where what once felt like wandering will make sense. God has been walking beside you, not merely as comfort, but as preparation. He was guiding you through paths that seemed uncertain, because He was leading you toward a promise you could not yet comprehend. You've been walking beside destiny itself, unaware that every step, even the painful ones, was aligning you with divine purpose. The Spirit of the Lord is saying, I am unveiling what I have been building in silence. The weight you carried was never wasted. It was the shaping of your authority. The tears you cried became rivers that watered the soil of your next season. The loneliness you endured was me clearing the crowd so you could finally hear my voice without interference. You thought the detour meant delay, but heaven calls it design. Every door that didn't open, every plan that fell apart, was a gentle redirection from a God who saw what you couldn't. You were not being denied, you were being hidden until the right moment. And now the covering is lifting. You've reached a threshold moment where divine companionship becomes divine manifestation. What God walked with you through, He will now walk you into. You've been in the wilderness, but the promised ground is near. The storms that terrified you were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to reveal His presence in the winds and the waves. Think of the disciples on that dark sea, terrified by the storm. Certain they were perishing, unaware that Jesus was walking toward them on the very waters that threatened to drown them. The waves didn't separate them from God. They became the path God used to draw near. And that's what's happening to you. The very chaos that tried to break you will become the platform where His glory appears. Heaven has observed your endurance. The unseen battles, the quiet forgiveness, the faith that remained even when there was no applause, all of it has been seen. And now the divine decree goes forth. The season of silent walking is coming to an end. You will soon see what I've been doing beside you all along. Doors will begin to open with divine precision. People will return or arrive as part of a heaven-sent alignment. Even the things that once broke you will begin to make sense in hindsight, because revelation brings peace. You're not being elevated because you were perfect. You're being elevated because you were faithful. God is unveiling His companionship as proof of His covenant. This isn't about a temporary blessing. It's about divine partnership. You're not being rescued from your story. You're being reintroduced to the author who's been writing it with His own hand. In the coming days, your spirit will feel lighter. The heaviness will lift, not because the road has ended, but because the presence walking beside you will become undeniable. You will find yourself saying, "That had to be God." You'll see patterns, connections, divine timing so precise that you'll know heaven's fingerprints are all over your life. So listen closely. What's about to unfold isn't random. It's the prophecy being unveiled. God is about to make His nearness visible. The same presence that walked beside you in sorrow will now walk beside you in victory. The silence will give way to song. The waiting will turn into witnessing. And the journey that once felt lonely will soon be your testimony of how faithfully God walked beside his chosen ones. There's something profoundly sacred about walking with God, not in moments of clarity, but in seasons of mystery. Anyone can walk when the path is clear, when the signs are visible, and the road ahead is smooth. But faith is born in the fog. It's forged in the moments when you can't see what's next. Yet you keep walking because something inside whispers, he's still here. This is the essence of divine companionship, learning to trust presence over proof. The world teaches you to believe in what you can see, but heaven trains you to recognize what can only be felt. And that's why your journey has been so uniquely intense. God was not punishing you. He was initiating you into deeper awareness. Every step you took in uncertainty was an act of worship. Each tear you shed was not weakness, but offering. You were walking with the eternal, even when your emotions didn't understand it. God wasn't waiting for you at the finish line. He was walking beside you, through every moment, teaching you that proximity is greater than clarity. In the unseen realm, there's a rhythm to how God moves with his chosen. Sometimes he walks ahead clearing obstacles. Sometimes he walks behind protecting your back. And sometimes when your spirit is weary, he carries you entirely. You may have felt still, even paralyzed, but heaven was still moving you forward. There's divine meaning in that stillness. It's not stagnation, it's sacred alignment. Just as the seed must rest in darkness before it breaks forth in life, so too must your soul sit in divine silence before it blossoms into revelation. You were hidden because you were holy ground in progress. And isn't it interesting how God chooses the lonely road to reveal his closeness? How the very places where you felt abandoned became the places where you finally heard his voice clearly. The cave where Elijah hid wasn't a punishment. It was where he learned to hear the whisper instead of the wind. The prison that confined Joseph became the place where his gift matured. The wilderness that isolated Moses prepared him to stand before Pharaoh. You see, divine companionship doesn't always look like comfort. Sometimes it looks like consecration. God will walk beside you into solitude because he wants to show you that his presence is enough, even when everything else is stripped away. The lesson wasn't loss, it was awareness. Every storm you've endured taught you the language of heaven. You learned that God doesn't always calm the sea, sometimes he teaches you to walk upon it. You discovered that peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of God amid them. You realize that being alone doesn't mean being abandoned, it means being in the company of the divine, who prefers intimacy over audience. There's a deeper revelation too, one many never reach. Walking beside God means synchronization. It means letting his timing replace your impatience, his will replace your expectation. It's no longer about running ahead or lagging behind, but walking in step with heaven's rhythm. That's why delays came, not to frustrate you, but to synchronize you. Every closed door was God saying, "Not this pace, not yet." Every redirection was heaven whispering, "Slow down, I'm here." You thought you were waiting on God, but many times he was waiting for your heart to catch up to his peace. And now he's revealing why the walk mattered. It wasn't just a journey of endurance, it was a transformation of perception. You were learning to sense him, not just seek him. You were learning that his presence doesn't need proof to be real. When you walk beside God, you become more than a believer. You become a vessel. His peace begins to flow through you. His discernment sharpens in you. His compassion expands around you. People begin to sense something divine when they're near you, not because of your words, but because of the presence you carry. That's what the journey built within you, a living awareness of Emmanuel, God with us. So look back for a moment, not in regret, but in revelation. Every valley, every detour, every silent night was a verse in a sacred poem written between your heart and heaven. And now you can read it clearly. What felt like distance was actually devotion. This is the deeper meaning of your journey, that to walk beside God is to become like Him. The storms didn't separate you. They refined you. The silence didn't erase you. It elevated your hearing. The loneliness didn't diminish you. It defined your purpose. Because in the end, walking with God was never about reaching a destination. It was about becoming a dwelling place. When God walks beside you, the evidence begins to show, not always in grand miracles, but in subtle whispers woven through ordinary days. These signs aren't coincidences. They're confirmations. Heaven has a language of reassurance, and if you look closely, you'll see that language has been speaking to you all along. One of the first signs is divine timing. You'll notice moments aligning so perfectly they almost feel scripted. A delay that once frustrated you suddenly makes sense. A door that stayed closed opens at the exact moment your heart is ready. You'll catch yourself saying, "If this had happened sooner, I wouldn't have been prepared." That's not chance, that's companionship. God's steps have been beside yours, ordering your timing, so that everything unfolds in peace, not pressure. Then comes the sign of inner calm amid chaos. It's that strange peace that doesn't match your circumstances. Others around you may panic, but you feel anchored as though something unseen is holding you steady. That peace isn't from you. It's from the one walking beside you. He doesn't always remove the storm, but He steadies your soul so the storm loses power. A third sign is the gentle repetition of messages, seeing the same word, phrase, or verse appear in unexpected places. Maybe you hear it in a song, read it in a post, or hear someone say it without knowing it's meant for you. It's heaven's echo reminding you, "I'm still here." Keep walking. When God walks beside you, the world starts echoing His presence back to you. Another confirmation is the reversal of loneliness. You begin to notice that solitude no longer feels like emptiness, it feels like invitation. You start enjoying moments of stillness because you sense someone sitting with you in them. You may find tears welling up without sadness, just from the weight of peace filling the space. That's how you know you've shifted from isolation to intimacy. The presence you once begged for is now tangible. Then there's the awakening of spiritual sensitivity. You start noticing details. A sudden pull to pray for someone, a soft nudge to turn down a path you hadn't planned, a word that rises in your heart just before it's needed. It's as though heaven's frequency has tuned itself into your awareness. These moments aren't random. They are coordinates from God, aligning your steps with divine orchestration. And finally, there's confirmation through restoration. You'll see things you thought were lost, returning in unexpected form. Relationships healed, opportunities resurfacing, your own confidence returning. What once broke you will begin to bless you. This is heaven's signature redemption, written in places that once felt ruined. All of these are signs that the presence walking beside you is active, not passive. God isn't simply watching, He's weaving. He's showing you that every coincidence carries intention. Every silence holds purpose. Every small moment is proof that you've never been walking alone. The signs aren't meant to overwhelm you. They're meant to reassure you. You're not crazy for feeling His nearness. You're finally aware of it. For every divine companionship, there comes a season of testing, not to break you, but to prove what has been built within you. You see, walking beside God is beautiful, but it is not always easy. His presence carries light, and light exposes everything, the fear, the doubt, the hidden wounds, still in need of healing. One of the greatest hidden challenges is spiritual loneliness. You can be surrounded by people and still feel unseen. It's not because you're unlovable, it's because your spirit no longer fits where it once did. When God starts walking closer, He begins separating you from what can't go with you. This pruning can feel painful. Conversations change. Connections fade. You might even feel misunderstood by those who once knew you best. But remember, isolation in divine seasons is never rejection. It's refinement. Then comes the challenge of trusting when you can't trace Him. There will be days when God seems silent, when your prayers hang unanswered in the air. You'll wonder if you missed something, if you took a wrong turn. But that silence isn't absence. It's God teaching you to lean on His presence, not His performance. Faith matures in stillness. It learns to say, "Even when I don't feel you, I know you're here." Another test hides in the form of delayed manifestation. You'll see others celebrating breakthroughs while you're still believing for yours. It will sting. Your patience will stretch and your heart will question, "Why not me, Lord?" But understand this, God isn't punishing you. He's perfecting the timing. Some blessings require alignment not only in you, but in those connected to your destiny. Heaven's timing is never late. It's exact. There's also the challenge of spiritual warfare disguised as discouragement. When you carry divine purpose, resistance finds you. Thoughts of inadequacy, of fear, or weariness may whisper, "You're not enough. It's not working." But those lies reveal how valuable your walk truly is. The closer you get to breakthrough, the louder the opposition becomes, not because you're off course, but because you're nearing completion. And then there's the quiet test of forgiveness. The path of divine walking will require you to release people who never apologized, to bless those who misunderstood you, and to move forward without resentment. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's spiritual strength. It frees your spirit to keep walking light, unburdened by bitterness. Each of these challenges carries a hidden purpose. They strip away everything that could distort your awareness of God's companionship. You start realizing that every storm didn't pull you from Him, it pressed you closer to His side. Every heartbreak made your hearing sharper. Every delay built your endurance. When you walk beside God, you're not just moving through circumstances, you're being transformed by them. And when your faith survives what others collapse under, heaven marks you as trustworthy for greater things. So don't despise the hidden challenges. They are not signs of abandonment, they are evidence of intimacy. God tests those He walks with most closely, not to expose weakness, but to reveal strength you didn't know you had. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. Now that the testing has refined you, heaven is releasing instruction not to burden you, but to empower you. What God has prepared beside you requires partnership. This is not the time to retreat in fear. It's the time to align in faith. For when you walk beside the Almighty, every step you take becomes sacred ground. The first instruction is this: stay aware of His presence. You've learned that God's companionship is not a feeling, it's a knowing. Now you must nurture that awareness daily. Wake up with gratitude. Speak to Him throughout your day. Pause in quiet moments to sense His nearness. The more you acknowledge His presence, the more tangible it becomes. You'll begin to notice divine nudges, small promptings guiding your decisions. That's not coincidence, it's communion. Second, guard your atmosphere. When God walks with you, the enemy will try to pollute your surroundings, not with obvious chaos, but with subtle distractions, negative voices, and emotional noise. Protect your peace as if it were treasure, because it is. Turn down the volume of fear. Distance yourself from conversations that drain your spirit. You cannot carry divine peace into contaminated spaces. Choose what feeds your soul. Third, obey quickly and quietly. When God speaks in this season, delay will cost clarity. His instructions may not make sense immediately, but obedience unlocks understanding. Move when He says move. Release what He says release. Don't wait for validation from others. Heaven's approval is enough. Some of your next blessings will come disguised as small acts of faith. Don't underestimate them. Fourth, walk in forgiveness and humility. These are the two keys that keep your path open. Pride blocks divine flow. Bitterness clouds divine sight. God can walk beside anyone, but he dwells only with the humble. When you forgive, you make room for his presence to move freely. When you humble yourself, you make space for his glory to rise. Fifth, keep your hands clean and your heart pure. As you rise, temptation will try to follow. Not all blessings are invitations. Some are distractions dressed in opportunity. Pray for discernment to tell the difference. Ask God to keep your motives pure. This next chapter isn't about proving anything. It's about carrying his peace everywhere you go. Sixth, speak life continually. The power in your mouth shapes the path before your feet. Heaven partners with words of faith, not fear. Even when you don't see movement, declare what God promised. Say, he is with me. I am guided. I am protected. I am surrounded. Every declaration is a torch lighting the next step of your journey. And seventh, rest in his rhythm. You've walked through storms. You've endured silence. Now God is teaching you to walk with grace, not rushing, not striving, but moving in sync with his peace. Every miracle you need will meet you in motion, not anxiety. Don't run ahead of God, and don't fall behind in hesitation. Stay in depth. His rhythm will carry you where striving never could. You may ask, Lord, how will I know when to move? You'll know by peace. Peace is the compass of those who walk with God. When you feel it, move forward. When you lose it, pause and listen. His voice doesn't push it, leads. Understand this: obedience is the love language of heaven. God doesn't require perfection. He asks for partnership. The same presence that walked beside you through pain will now walk beside you through purpose if you keep your heart surrendered. This is the divine order. For your steps, awareness; atmosphere, obedience; humility, purity; declaration, and rest. Follow them, and you'll find yourself walking in supernatural ease, the kind of peace that can't be shaken by what's happening around you. Because in this new season, God isn't just walking beside you. He's walking through you, speaking guiding healing through your very being. You are becoming a vessel of his companionship in motion. As you follow his guidance, you'll begin to sense something sacred, a covering. It's not something you can always see with your eyes, but your spirit knows it's there. The air feels different. Your atmosphere shifts. That's divine protection, manifesting the invisible embrace of a God who never leaves your side. There is a hedge around your life that no darkness can penetrate. What the enemy once used to intimidate you will now retreat at your presence because you do not walk alone. The moment you chose obedience, heaven assigned guardianship. Angels began to surround your path, unseen, but active shielding, guiding, and clearing the way. When you sleep, that same protection stands watch. When you wake, it goes before you. The peace you carry is not fragile, it's fortified. God's companionship means that nothing can touch you without passing through his permission first. And if he allows it, it's only because he intends to turn it for your good. You'll notice it in the quiet moments when fear tries to return, but finds no room. That's his spirit fortifying your heart. You'll notice it in unexpected safety, a near accident avoided, a sudden warning in your spirit, a pause that saves you from wrong timing. Those aren't coincidences. That's divine surveillance. Heaven's eyes are always upon those God walks beside. Sometimes his protection looks like delay. Sometimes it looks like disappointment. But later, you'll see what he was shielding you from. You'll realize that what didn't work out was actually working in your favor. Protection doesn't always mean comfort. Sometimes it means redirection. The Lord wants you to know this. You are not walking through shadows. You are walking under my wings. You've been kept through battles that should have broken you. You've survived what others couldn't, because divine companionship isn't passive, it intervenes. It steps in when danger approaches. It silences voices meant to confuse you. It closes doors meant to harm you. And in this next chapter, that protection will become even more evident. You'll feel peace in places that once brought anxiety. You'll enter situations that once overwhelmed you and sense a calm that doesn't make sense because the presence walking beside you has gone before you. God wants you to rest in this truth: you are covered. The storms may roar, but they cannot destroy you. The opposition may rise, but it cannot overtake you. You walk with one whose name is victory. So breathe not in fear, but in confidence. You are encircled, protected, and preserved. Even when you don't see his hand, you are standing within his shield. Every step you take is guarded by divine promise. You're not walking alone, you're walking accompanied by protection itself. You've walked through the silence, you've endured the storms, and you've learned to move by faith when nothing made sense. And now, a shift is taking place, not around you first, but within you. Transformation always begins in the invisible, before it manifests in the visible. What was heavy is becoming light. What was uncertain is gaining clarity. What was once your pain is turning into purpose. This is the point where heaven rewards faithfulness. The years that felt lost were not wasted. They were invested. God has been working behind every closed door, preparing what eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard. You were walking with him when nothing seemed to move, but now he's walking you into the manifestation of what he promised. You'll begin to notice it slowly at first: peace returning, hope stirring, creativity awakening, doors opening almost effortlessly. Where there was resistance, now there's release. Where there was heaviness, now there's joy. You'll start recognizing yourself again, not the wounded version, but the refined one. The one who survived, matured, and now walks with divine composure. This is your becoming. You are not who you were when the journey began. The battles that once broke you now serve as testimonies of grace. The silence that once scared you has become your sanctuary. The pain that once defined you has turned into your oil, an anointing born out of endurance. When God walks beside you, he doesn't just lead you out of storms, he transforms you through them. And that transformation becomes visible to everyone around you. People will look at you and say, "There's something different." They won't know that difference has a name: presence. The presence you carried in pain is now radiating through peace. You'll see fulfillment in relationships, new divine connections forming that feel right, not rushed. You'll see fulfillment in your purpose, doors opening that align perfectly with what you were born to do. You'll see fulfillment in your spirit, a joy that doesn't need circumstances to sustain it. God is not just restoring what you lost. He's resurrecting what was buried. The ashes are turning to beauty. The mourning is becoming dancing. The confusion is becoming clarity. Everything that tried to silence you will soon serve as the backdrop for your song. You will no longer walk bent under the weight of what was. You'll walk tall under the glory of what is. The same presence that once comforted you in solitude will now crown you in public. Not to boast, but to bear witness, to show others that walking with God was never in vain. Your testimony will carry power because it's built on companionship, not convenience. When you speak, others will feel peace. When you move, others will sense purpose. When you create, encourage, or lead, heaven's fragrance will follow because you're no longer walking for God, you're walking with him. The transformation is complete when you realize you no longer need proof because your entire life is the proof. The journey that once broke you has become the evidence of divine faithfulness. And this right here is fulfillment, when your scars tell stories of grace, when your silence carries wisdom, and when your steps echo the rhythm of heaven itself. You've walked beside God, and now the world will see the glow of His nearness shining through you. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Feel that peace wrapping around you. That's not imagination, that's presence. The same presence that walked beside you through every valley now rests upon you like a mantle of calm, a crown of quiet strength. Everything you've walked through has brought you to this moment, the moment where heaven whispers, "You made it." Not because you were perfect, but because you didn't give up. You kept walking. You kept believing. And God never left your side. Now, before you step into the next season, let these affirmations settle deep into your soul. Speak them aloud, not as wishes, but as declarations of truth. I am never alone, for God walks beside me in every moment. Peace surrounds me because His presence dwells within me. Every step I take is guided, protected, and purposeful. What was meant to harm me has become the soil of my growth. I am aligned with divine timing, covered in divine love, and moving in divine strength. Say them slowly. Feel their truth resonate in your spirit. You are no longer the person who doubted your worth. You are the one who discovered what it means to be chosen, not because of position, but because of presence. And now receive this blessing. May your steps be steady, anchored in peace. May your heart stay tender, even after the battles. May your ears remain sensitive to heaven's whisper. May your hands stay open to give your spirit open to receive. May no shadow of fear linger in your mind, for the light walks with you. When the world grows loud, may His stillness ground you. When the path feels uncertain, may His hand steady you. And when you look back, may you see clearly that every step was ordered, every detour was divine, every silence was sacred. The journey isn't ending here. It's transforming. You're stepping into a new rhythm, not of striving, but of walking with God. His presence will go before you, beside you, and within you. So walk forward now, calm, confident, and covered, because the one who promised to walk beside you has never broken a promise yet. You are seen, you are safe, you are surrounded. And from this day forward, you will never walk alone again.